Greetings, everyone, and welcome to We Are ACEDS, streaming live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. My name is Mike Quartararo. I am the president of ACEDS. Today, we're going to be joined very shortly by our friend and partner, Andrew Ysasi. He's the vice president of Vital Records Control in Michigan. VRC is a national digital document management solutions leader that helps clients reduce costs and increase productivity throughout the information lifecycle. Andrew also operates the site and podcast IG Guru. He's an instructor of information governance at San Jose State University. He's a huge proponent of certification programs. He is a certified project management professional. He holds the Certified Information Privacy Professional credential, the Certified Records Manager credential, multiple information governance professional credentials, and the Certified Information Security Manager credential, among others. And in addition to all that, he's also the chair of the Institute of Certified Records Managers, ICRM. ACEDS is always trying to be at the forefront of the IG movement. And yes, it's a movement. And so we've partnered with Andrew and IG Guru in the hope that we can raise awareness about information governance and its importance to the legal industry in general. But also more specifically, how IG plays into the e-discovery lifecycle. So, Andrew, welcome to We Are ACEDS, and thank you for making the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's good to see you.
How are we doing? Where are we today, geographically?
Grand Rapids, Michigan. Geographically, a stormy day, and we've had sun for, maybe about a week straight before we had some storms come through, and we're on round 2 of storms here, so it's a little gloomy today, so I apologize for that, but I've got my...
No worries at all. I understand there's a Canadian cold front blowing in, so get ready.
We are prepared.
All right, listen, first things first. For those who don't really know, tell us a little bit about you, your career journey, how you wound up in information governance, and of course, a little bit about IG Guru and VRC.
Excellent. Well, appreciate the opportunity to do that. And I think like anyone else we've spoken to, most don't seek this field out as a profession, so
it was an accident, I swear.
Right. I believe you. I came from IT, so I cut my teeth on systems administration, supporting Microsoft environments, and then getting into project management and application rollouts, and that's where I cut my teeth on a lot of, say, ECM implementations, document conversions, all that great stuff. I went into technology management and eventually landed a role at a company here in Michigan that specialized in record storage and destruction, and they wanted to go digital. So I helped them go to not only digital offerings internally, but also providing digital offerings to clients. And that was probably 2007 I started there, and we sold the business to Vital Records Control, my current employer, in 2018. So it was a good almost 10-year run, had a lot of fun, learned a lot. And that's when I really got immersed into the world of records and information management. And for those who've been paying attention to IG started really kind of being a talking point, I'd say 2010, 2011. So that's how I got into the industry and ultimately was enamored with it, and now pretty entrenched, which I'm not upset about at all. I absolutely love it.
Appreciate that. And so what is IG Guru? We're partnered with you on the IG Guru side. What is IG Guru? What does it do? And how did you come to found that?
Yeah, so IG Guru, it's interesting. When I started putting together a lot of presentations, I wanted to collect information in a way that was a little more, I would say, available if I wanted to show someone quickly. So instead of taking a link and putting it into a Word doc or like Google Notes or a cloud-based notes program, I could bring up a website and show people, well, hey, this is what I've been reading, or check this article out, or I could share it easily. And I started doing that about 2016, on my own. And that's where an IG guru was really kind of starting. Where I would say it officially started becoming a thing was when I say a thing, where I got it organized, is in 2018, when I had a thought of, this could have value to other people too than just people I come across to in the industry and at conferences. Maybe there's some news or events that they would appreciate. So made the site public, cleaned it up a little bit, found some sponsors. Um, at the old RIM listserv that was hosted at the University of Florida with Peter Curlis, brought that community over, and it took off. It took off as really a place where people could rely on good IG news from various sources, and it kept people in the loop of what was going on. And that was really the thought of what the listserv was always about, and also scratched the itch of making sure that I could share content readily, freely with folks who were interested in events, and especially during COVID. That's when we really got noticed with a lot of the webinars that you folks did and that a lot of the sponsors did, to help keep continuing education going, and also keep credits going for the certifications as well that are out there. So, and here we are today, 2023. It's hard to say 5 years since it was formalized, but I absolutely love it. It's low touch and has a lot of impact. So it allows me to
Yeah,
grow.
no, and we appreciate the content. We try to send folks there when they're looking for current IG news. All right, let's dig in a little bit here. I want to ask you about your definition of information governance. As I'm sure you know, IG encompasses many different disciplines, and not everyone views these things the same way. As someone who's working in this space 25 plus years, how are you defining information governance?
It's a good question, and I'll go back to the latest. We know that information governance now has a standard, at ISO.org, that has a definition. But prior to that, we had organizations that had definitions, and the common theme with the definitions was addressing information as an asset strategically, all the way down the organization, tactical operations, but specifically stating strategically, and bringing in the concepts of lowering risk around that information. But I think most importantly, what separates IG from a lot of the other disciplines is finding value with that information. So, records and information management was all about lowering risk and finding what you needed. There was some valuation, but it wasn't really defined or understood or clear. And then data analytics, business analytics, big data came along, and they were all about finding value with information and using it for strategic advantage. And that's a broad term, but insert marketing benefits, internal product understanding of what's selling, what's not, all sorts of selling information ethically to third parties, and that had been there too, where IG brings both of those worlds together at a strategic level. So I tell folks who are relatively new to this concept is that, if you're at the board level, think of, you have financial governance, you have your fiscal responsibility, information governance should sit there as well. And that's where the new standard, and of course, great associations like ACEDS and others, can provide guidance for organizations where they may be weak in certain areas or certain industries where it makes sense to them from a terminology standpoint to get it implemented.
Andrew, is IG the evolution of RIM, Records Information Management, or are they adjacent?
So I would say IG is not an evolution of RIM. RIM is its own profession, its own standalone department in itself. There's still a lot of value why RIM is out there. IG brings multiple disciplines to one grouping, and allows an organization through that framework to look at information as an asset through the lens of these various groups. So I think it enhances RIM for sure. And I think it also provides people who work in RIM who might feel like they've hit a ceiling or they're looking for a new challenge, IG offers them another opportunity to enhance their career. So I think they're very much freestanding. But I would also agree with my past, I call her my past boss at San Jose State, Dr. Pat Franks. You can have a great IG program, but it should be founded with a great RIM foundation and a great RIM program, and that can be debated too. But you can't have IG without RIM in many cases. You can try it, but it's not going to be mature.
Okay, one more question on this, because I think everybody kind of views like cyber or information security and privacy as kind of standalone disciplines, right? But many people lump them into the IG world. What's your take on those two as either independent, adjacent to, or separate from information governance?
It's a good question. I think, when we look at some of the guidance that's out there on IG, and some of the guides will say, well, you have to have technology at the table. And for those who are technologists, that's a very broad term, right?
Sure.
So by understanding your organization, and this is where these frameworks can help guide you, not necessarily tell you what to do, but guide you. You may have a advanced cyber team and be weak in other areas. And what I think IG and the frameworks help you with is identify that those might be weaknesses, and assign ownership to areas that might enhance those areas, or maybe they're mature operations, cyber maturity, and you've got application infrastructure maturity. There might be some administrative stuff in IT, and maybe there's some opportunities in those areas that IG, by having everyone kind of looking at that holistically, again, starting strategically, working down, finding opportunities to mitigate risk, but also find value in the information assets that flow through those functions, those entities of the organization. I think there's a lot of value. And then how they map into overall IG, I think that's a broader discussion of how do you want to approach this. And this is where culture, change management, and I think good just professional awareness comes in. If you come in with a big stick of IG to a mature cyber team, they're going to look and say, well, that all sounds great, but we don't have time for that right now, right? So you have to be strategic within that discussion. That's where I think coming from the board down, understanding the benefits, it can be truly helpful. And they'll find out it's truly it can be a benefit to those folks on the cyber side. Maybe they have less to protect or less to worry about if you can cut your rot or your over retained information, or your poorly organized or messy databases up. You've got less to have to report from a privacy standpoint. There's a lot of benefits there. I mean, we can probably talk for ages on that. But it absolutely didn't need to be included in those discussions when IG is on the table.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's all kind of, to me, it's kind of like the common denominator, data, right? It's all data, whatever you're using it for, you're going to get more value out of that data if the teams, whether they're privacy, cyber, IG, RIM, if they're all sort of coordinating and coalescing and working together, the organization benefits at the end of the day. And that's really, I think, the theme.
Sure. And also too, the organization itself is oftentimes using IT to help support the organization, the workflows, why the organization does what it does. IT may need to have either a reminder or get different insight on why decisions are being made, so they can, like the smart people that they are, provide alternatives or better ways to mitigate risk or find value in information that the business may not even know about. So if there's a disconnect in just understanding technology and what they're doing with other organizations, IG could be an indirect benefit of improving just those conversations and improving that relationship. So which is, I think every organization needs to have those dialogue, but if those are weak or aren't intentional, IG can help with that.
So let's take a little walk down memory lane here. What is your view of the current state of affairs, or the state of the union for information governance? And I say that asking that you compare it to 5, 10, 20 years ago, right? I mean, to me, I feel like when we started the internet, not we, meaning you and I, but when the internet started, like nobody cared about cyber or privacy. Like it was there are people today who still don't, but that's a different conversation. But like, how have you seen information governance mature over the decades you've been in this business?
Sure. Well, I thought about the answer to this for a bit, and I thought I'll break it down into three sections: people, process, technology, which we've heard of those three. And I think with the people side, there's definitely more education out there than there ever has been regarding IG. We've got our standard. We've got people talking about it. There's definitely more buzz. If you look at Google Trends, information governance is trending up, not nearly as much as others, like cyber and others, but it's definitely trending up. Um, and I think the the process side of IG is going to take a little longer to improve because it's such a broad and expansive type of framework. The new standard is, or I should say, the updated standard for IG was released in 2022. Got context inside ISO that we're looking at 2027 before we have an equivalent standard like 15489 with records information management that came out in 2016 to have a full, say, 60, 70 page guidance on how to do IG. So I think the processes around IG are going to be more vendor driven and more through collaboration internally before we can compare those to that new standard coming out. And on the technology side, wow, I mean, when you're looking at generative AI, large language models with artificial intelligence, machine learning, things we weren't talking about heavily 5 years ago. I can only imagine over the next 5 years what technology is going to look like. And we already know legislation, typically regulation lags behind those, especially on the federal level for most countries. I think IG is absolutely going to have to be discussed and openly just talked about, because with people creating all this new content, we saw those stats over the years, Mike, how many zettabytes are going to be out in 5 years and 10 years and where we're going to be, and how all of those estimates just got blown out of the water. And now you've got AI and systems creating data maybe on their own. We're going to need IG more than ever, and we're going to need AI in many ways to help us tame.
You're going to need AI to counteract AI.
AI to counteract AI. We're still going to need people. I mean, we're going to need all of it. So IG, I think, definitely has a future for sure, especially as we look at these organizations and how big and how vast they're going to get, especially as it comes to their information assets. I think people are going to see it as a welcome opportunity. My concern is they start too late, and it's not as easy as saying, all right, like back in the 80s, let's go to these areas, let's do a records audit, let's pick up all these file cabinets and paper boxes, organize it, shred it, file it away, and we're done. It's not going to be that easy this time around. And if we think it's that easy, I think people need to see what dark web and repositories and probably have a more deep conversation about IT and what they think information assets are, because there could be some hidden areas that could have some vital information that even the records or ID folks have no idea.
I can't wait. And you couldn't be more right. We've definitely got some challenges coming, but I think we can meet those challenges. We are ACEDS, right? ACEDS is, we're an e-discovery education organization. That's what we do. And it'd be remiss of me not to ask you this question. How do you see the alignment between information governance and e-discovery? And I don't just ask that because like information governance is part of the EDRM model, right? It's obviously, to us, we look at it as foundational, but I'd be curious to hear someone who has not worked in e-discovery. How do you see that nexus and the value or lack of value in that?
Well, I think it depends on the seat you're in. If you are a law firm and you're looking to provide services to your clients, there might be some not a big focus on saying, hey, if you apply IG to your data, we might be able to find things a little bit easier. I mean, some of these tools you see are very powerful already, and it may not be a priority of concern, and there could be billing opportunities there. And I would say reasonable billing opportunities, to sift through data. It's law firms don't usually, at least the ones I've seen, don't usually say, let us come and clean your stuff up first before there's litigation. That way it'll be easier for us to find things. It's usually reactionary.
And we'll do it for free. They don't usually say that either.
They don't usually say that either. So you have that side of things. And on the other side, where if you're, in an organization and you have heavy litigation, I think you're absolutely looking at ways to automate as much of the retention that you can to mitigate any risk of information that's potentially out there. You're looking at how to manage third-party vendors better in the event you find you're named in a suit that that you didn't expect to be named in or be pulled into. And again, I'm not an attorney. I would certainly advise people to look, talk to their counsel on their risks around that. But when you look at information assets in the overall ecosystem, it's no longer about just what's on our cloud network or on our servers in our office. It's we're potentially responsible for broadly. And going back to IG, I think that's where it at least shines a light to say, hey, we need to have those conversations. And I think one of the points that I hopefully like to see with the new standard is that we bring folks like the finance and accounting individuals, and we bring trusted third parties in who are our true partners to have a seat at that IG table, so we can talk to them about where's money going, paying for these types of places where we might be storing data and storing information, and then also, where third-party folks do you have information that maybe you should have contractually destroyed or gotten rid of by now? Because with AI, they're going to be able to make those inferences and those references pretty darn quick that, hey, data might have been pushed over here. And if you have an aggressive, opposing counsel, or they may see that with tools during discovery, and boom, it opens up more risk than you ever thought you had. Now, some organizations, as you know, may not care about that and say, well, it's just part of the job. And others may say that's a big deal. Right. So I think there's opportunity there. So again, it goes back to what seat you're sitting in as far as opportunities go.
Sure. All right. Listen, you heard it here, folks, from the IG guru himself. We're almost out of time, but Andrew, anything new or exciting coming up that listeners should be aware of?
Well, I know we've got a lot of conferences coming up.
Yeah, it's conference season. It actually has its own season.
It has its own season, and I'm excited to see that. The spring season, the conferences that I went to, attendance was up. So I'm excited to see attendance continuing to go up. So for those of you who are concerned about traveling to a conference and having low attendance, this year I've definitely seen an uptick in attendance, which is wonderful. It's great to see people. I also think people need to be aware too in their personal goals. I've seen some trickle down from the technology layoffs, kind of impacting some of the RIM and IG folks. So I would say don't rest on your laurels with continuing education, maybe going after certification, understanding what's coming out there, being on live sessions like this. Keeping your skill sharp is important, not only for your current role, but a potential next role too. So don't want to cause any anxiety with folks, but just these are things that are happening right now we need to be mindful of.
Absolutely. Lastly, Andrew, how should listeners get in touch if they want to reach you?
Oh, they can find me on LinkedIn and connect with me there and contact me. My email address is my first name, first initial A, last name Ysasi @vrcnetwork.com. That's Vital Records Control abbreviated, network.com. Or just reach out to ACEDS, and I'm sure you folks can make a connection too.
Happy to make the connections when we can. Thank you so much, Andrew. This has been great. I appreciate you taking the time for us today.
My pleasure.
Everyone, yes, have a great day. If you are interested in our short form video interviews like this one, you can find We Are ACEDS live streaming in your LinkedIn, your Twitter, your Facebook, or you can check us out on the YouTube channel, the ACEDS YouTube channel, where you can watch previous interviews as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Have a great day and be kind to one another.